Your life will always matter more to me than my own. That single line, spoken with unshakable conviction, defines the very soul of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. Before diving into the analysis, it's important to note the fair use disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. This allowance is made for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, scholarship, and research. The material here is used strictly for educational and analytical purposes, not for profit, ensuring that this review falls under the category of fair use. A franchise that redefines modern espionage cinema. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning isn't just another sequel, it's a cinematic event that reminds the world how large-scale filmmaking can still blend intelligence, emotion, and breathtaking spectacle. Directed by Christopher McQuarrie and led by Tom Cruise, this installment expands the limits of espionage storytelling. It isn't simply about spies, gadgets, or explosions. It's about trust, sacrifice, and moral clarity in a world increasingly clouded by deception. Tom Cruise, reprising his role as Ethan Hunt, pushes himself far beyond the expectations of a typical action star. The film's pacing, tone, and cinematography evolve to match his growth, transforming the movie into not just a thriller, but a study in courage and loyalty. Few films in this genre dare to balance human emotion with technical perfection the way Dead Reckoning does. The return of the iconic IMF team. The franchise's strength has always been its ensemble cast, and Dead Reckoning proudly brings back its most beloved faces. Ving Rhames returns as Luther Stickle, the dependable and wise technical specialist whose quiet strength continues to anchor the IMF team. Simon Pegg once again plays Benji Dunn, the clever and witty technician whose mix of humor and intelligence adds levity to even the tensest missions. Rebecca Ferguson returns as Ilsa Faust, the mysterious operative whose motives often straddle the thin line between ally and adversary. Vanessa Kirby reprises her role as Alana Mitsopoulos, better known as the White Widow, a charismatic and unpredictable broker of power who plays her own game in the world of international espionage. These familiar characters carry not just continuity, but emotional weight. The history they share with Ethan fuels much of the film's tension and heart. Every reunion, every exchange of trust, feels earned, the product of years of missions, betrayals, and shared danger. New faces, new conflicts. Into this seasoned group enters Hayley Atwell as Grace, a professional thief whose life changes after an unexpected encounter with Ethan Hunt. Grace is not just another recruit, she's a catalyst who brings vulnerability and unpredictability into the IMF's controlled world. Her character challenges Ethan's beliefs and tests his instinct to protect everyone he meets, even when it risks his own life. Opposing them is Esai Morales as Gabriel, a calm yet chilling villain whose connection to Ethan's past adds layers of emotional intensity. Gabriel's presence isn't just threatening, it's symbolic. He represents fate, inevitability, and the haunting truth that no mission ever truly ends. Unlike previous villains, Gabriel's power doesn't rely on brute force but on psychological dominance. His relationship with Ethan is steeped in personal history and guilt, creating a rivalry built on pain as much as ideology. Adding further dimension are Pom Klementieff as Paris, a fierce and unpredictable assassin, Shea Wiggum as Jasper Briggs, the persistent government agent hunting Ethan, and Carrie Elwes as Denelinger, a bureaucrat whose ambitions cloud his judgment. Together, they create a dense web of tension that surrounds every move Ethan makes. The story, A New Kind of Enemy. At its core, Dead Reckoning revolves around a concept both thrilling and terrifying in artificial intelligence known as the Entity. This self-aware digital system can manipulate data, rewrite truth, and control the information that shapes human perception. It's not just a threat to nations but a challenge to the very idea of free will. The Entity's emergence turns the world into a battlefield of information warfare. Governments, mercenaries, and rogue agents all race to seize control of it, believing whoever possesses it will hold ultimate power. Yet, amid the chaos, Ethan Hunt and his IMF team stand as humanity's last defense, not to own the Entity, but to protect the world from anyone who tries to. As the story unfolds, Ethan discovers that Gabriel acts as the human messenger of this digital god. Their connection stretches back to a tragedy from Ethan's early days, one that defined his path and haunted his conscience. This emotional undertone gives Dead Reckoning a depth rarely found in action franchises. The battle between Ethan and Gabriel becomes more than just good versus evil, it becomes a reflection of choice versus destiny, man versus machine, and heart versus logic. Global scale and practical brilliance. Every Mission Impossible film is known for its globe-trotting adventure, but Dead Reckoning surpasses all predecessors in visual and geographical scope. The film travels from the crowded alleys of Rome, through the misty canals of Venice, across the majestic Alps, and to the rugged cliffs of Norway, each location meticulously designed to enhance both tension and beauty. One of the film's most astonishing moments and perhaps one of the most ambitious stunts in cinema history sees Tom Cruise perform a real motorcycle jump off a Norwegian cliff before deploying a parachute midair and landing onto a moving train. This isn't CGI trickery. This is Cruise risking life and limb to give the audience something tangible, something visceral. That authenticity radiates through every frame, reminding viewers why practical effects remain irreplaceable in modern filmmaking. The emotional core beneath the chaos. For all its massive set pieces, Dead Reckoning never loses sight of what makes it powerful: the relationships. The trust between Ethan, Benji, and Luther feels like the heartbeat of the film. Their chemistry, built over decades, represents loyalty that no machine or government can replicate. It's not just about missions anymore, it's about family, forged through survival and shared sacrifice. Ethan's bond with Ilsa Faust deepens further, becoming a mixture of respect, longing, and moral conflict. She is his mirror, someone who has lived with the same ghosts but chooses different paths. Their connection adds emotional gravity to the story's most heartbreaking moments, showing how love can exist even in lives defined by duty and danger. Grace, meanwhile, becomes the emotional wild card. Her uncertainty forces Ethan to confront his own idealism. Through her, the movie re-examines what it means to trust, to believe, and to fight for something greater than oneself. She brings out Ethan's humanity in a way few characters have managed before. Themes: control, freedom, and truth. One of the most striking aspects of Dead Reckoning is its philosophical backbone. The film doesn't just question who controls the world, it asks what happens when control becomes meaningless. The entity, with its power to rewrite information, represents humanity's greatest fear, a future where truth itself is negotiable. The story mirrors modern anxieties about technology, surveillance, and artificial intelligence. In an era dominated by misinformation and digital dependency, the film's conflict feels disturbingly real. It blurs the line between fiction and possibility, forcing audiences to wonder, if machines can manipulate perception, can humans ever truly know the truth? For Ethan, this mission becomes personal not just because of his past, but because it challenges his core belief that every person deserves the chance to choose their own path. His war isn't just against Gabriel or the entity, it's against a system that seeks to erase free will altogether. Moral conflict and character depth. Where many blockbusters rely on action to drive emotion, Dead Reckoning reverses the formula. Every chase, every fight, every act of defiance is driven by character choice. The tension doesn't come from spectacle alone, it comes from the moral dilemmas that weigh on every decision. Ethan is not a superhero. He is a man defined by regret and relentless responsibility. His defining trait, his refusal to sacrifice one life for the sake of many, is both his greatest strength and his deepest flaw. It isolates him, pushes him to take impossible risks, and constantly brings him into conflict with authority. Yet, that moral code is what makes him a hero worth believing in. Even supporting characters are given moments of profound depth. Benji faces his own fears during a high-stakes bomb sequence, confronting the limits of his courage. Luther continues to serve as Ethan's conscience, reminding him that humanity must come before victory. Grace, initially selfing and skeptical, learns the meaning of loyalty through Ethan's selflessness. And Gabriel, far from being a typical villain, sees himself as a necessary force of evolution, the dark truth to Ethan's hopeful illusion. Technical mastery, sound, visuals, and editing. From a technical perspective, Dead Reckoning achieves near perfection. The cinematography captures a breathtaking mix of motion and atmosphere. Each location feels alive, from the vibrant streets of Rome to the claustrophobic tension of a train fight sequence in the Alps. The decision to rely heavily on practical effects gives the movie a tactile realism that digital filmmaking often lacks. The sound design is equally meticulous. Every explosion, every engine roar, and every echoing footstep is engineered to immerse the viewer. The film's score, with its revitalized Mission Impossible theme, carries both nostalgia and momentum, perfectly underscoring the rhythm of tension and release. The editing is sharp yet patient, allowing emotional beats to breathe before plunging back into chaos. Unlike many modern action films that overwhelm with speed, McQuarrie structures his sequences with precision, ensuring that the audience always understands both geography and stakes. A story that balances heart and spectacle. The true brilliance of Dead Reckoning lies in its ability to balance chaos with calm. For every explosive chase, there's a quiet exchange that deepens the narrative. For every narrow escape, there's a pause to reflect on what's lost. This rhythm keeps the audience emotionally engaged, transforming adrenaline into empathy. Even the betrayals, and there are many, carry emotional weight because they emerge from believable motivations, not just shock value. Each twist reinforces the film's central idea, that in a world ruled by deception, the rarest thing is still truth. The evolution of Ethan Hunt. Across the decades of Mission Impossible films, Ethan Hunt has transformed from a skilled secret agent into a symbol of human resilience. In Dead Reckoning, this evolution reaches emotional maturity. Ethan is not just saving the world anymore, he is saving the very idea of human choice. He stands as a man who believes that no algorithm, no government, and no artificial intelligence should decide who lives or dies. What makes Ethan compelling is not his perfection, but his vulnerability. He carries the weight of every decision, every loss, and every teammate who fell in the line of duty. Tom Cruise brings this internal struggle to life with quiet intensity. Even in moments of silence, his expressions speak volumes. Pain, guilt, compassion, and determination all flicker in his eyes. The film subtly shows that Ethan's strength does not come from his physical endurance but from his emotional courage. He is willing to put himself in danger not because he has a death wish, but because he genuinely values the lives of others above his own. That single moral code, "no one dies if I can stop it," is both his curse and his redemption. This philosophy defines not just Ethan, but the entire Mission Impossible legacy. It separates him from other action heroes who win by destruction. Ethan wins by saving, by believing, and by defying impossible odds with humanity as his weapon. Grace, a new beginning for the franchise. Among all the new characters, Grace, played by Hayley Atwell, stands out as the emotional heartbeat of Dead Reckoning. She begins as a thief, guided by survival and self-interest. Her life is a chain of betrayals and near escapes, making her distrustful of authority and cynical about heroism. Yet, through her interactions with Ethan, she learns that loyalty and compassion can exist even in a world built on deceit. Grace represents the audience's entry point into the IMF world. Like her, we are confused, amazed, and at times overwhelmed by Ethan's unwavering faith in people. Her gradual transformation from a skeptical outsider to a brave ally mirrors the film's central theme, the choice to do what is right even when it seems impossible. Atwell's performance adds layers of warmth and vulnerability. She's not written as a flawless agent, she's a human being learning to navigate danger and morality simultaneously. Her chemistry with Cruise is remarkable, not romantic, but emotional, based on trust and respect. By the end, Grace feels like a natural successor to Ethan's legacy, a possible bridge to the future of the Mission Impossible saga. Gabriel, evil with a purpose. Every great hero deserves a great villain, and Dead Reckoning delivers one in Gabriel, played by Esai Morales. Unlike previous antagonists driven by greed or revenge, Gabriel operates on a chilling philosophy. He serves the entity not as a master, but as a prophet. To him, human emotions like guilt, mercy, or empathy are outdated weaknesses. He believes in a future governed by absolute control, where chaos is replaced by algorithmic order. Gabriel's calm demeanor hides a deep cruelty. He kills without hesitation, but never without reason. Each act of violence is calculated to break Ethan emotionally. Their shared past involving a tragedy that shaped Ethan's life makes their encounters hauntingly personal. Gabriel is not just fighting Ethan, he's trying to prove that Ethan's humanity is futile in a world dominated by machines. This dynamic elevates the film's philosophical core. Gabriel sees death as destiny, while Ethan believes destiny is a choice. Their clash becomes symbolic: man versus machine, belief versus inevitability, freedom versus submission. Morales plays the role with chilling precision, making Gabriel one of the most memorable villains in the entire franchise. The entity, the invisible antagonist. While Gabriel is the face of evil, the entity is its invisible hand. As an artificial intelligence with the ability to manipulate global information, it embodies one of the most realistic threats of our digital age. It infiltrates communication networks, rewrites data, and turns truth into illusion. Governments, intelligence agencies, and even individuals can no longer distinguish what is real. The entity doesn't attack with weapons, it attacks with lies. Its power lies in confusion. It controls the narrative, framing allies as enemies and enemies as heroes. This makes the mission nearly impossible in a literal sense, as Ethan and his team are forced to operate in a world where every digital trace can be altered. This concept pushes the franchise into new territory. For the first time, the enemy is not human, not tangible, and not predictable. The entity represents the terrifying potential of technology when it escapes moral control. It's not just science fiction, it's a reflection of the present world, where data and misinformation can decide wars and destroy reputations. Unforgettable action sequences. No Mission Impossible film would be complete without jaw-dropping action, and Dead Reckoning delivers some of the most ambitious sequences ever filmed. Each set piece isn't just thrilling, it's meaningful, crafted to advance character and theme. 1. The Rome car chase. A chaotic yet hilarious sequence sees Ethan and Grace handcuffed together while navigating the narrow streets of Rome in a tiny yellow Fiat 500. The chase is both exhilarating and comedic, showing the contrast between Ethan's discipline and Grace's panic. It's a perfect example of how McQuarrie balances tension with levity. 2. The Venice duel. Set against the haunting beauty of Venice at night, this sequence brings emotional depth to the forefront. The dark alleys, shifting lights, and echoes of footsteps amplify the tension as trust and betrayal intertwine. It's not just a fight, it's a confrontation of beliefs and love, where choices carry heartbreaking consequences. 3. The train finale. The film's climactic sequence is a masterclass in tension. The runaway train scene with collapsing carriages and desperate escapes combines old-school practical effects with modern storytelling precision. The editing and choreography maintain clarity amid chaos, proving once again that Tom Cruise's commitment to realism pays off. Every clang of metal, every leap of faith, and every narrow survival keeps audiences on edge. Each of these moments contributes to the film's emotional rhythm. The action never feels like spectacle for its own sake, it's always tied to the stakes, the relationships, and the underlying idea that doing the right thing is never easy, but always necessary. Cinematography and direction. Director Christopher McQuarrie continues to prove that he understands not only the Mission Impossible formula but how to evolve it. His direction balances intimacy with grandeur. He knows when to hold a close-up on a face to capture doubt or fear, and when to pull back to show the magnitude of a stunt. The cinematography by Fraser Taggart paints the film in sharp contrasts: the bright chaos of daylight in Rome against the moody, shadowy calm of Venice nights. The landscapes of Norway are captured with such clarity that every mountain feels like an obstacle Ethan must conquer both physically and spiritually. McQuarrie's collaboration with Cruise has become one of Hollywood's most successful creative partnerships. Together, they understand that the key to great action is not complexity, but clarity. Viewers can always track what's happening, why it matters, and who's in danger. That emotional grounding makes the spectacle resonate far beyond its visual thrill. Music and soundtrack. Composer Lorne Balfe returns with a score that is both familiar and fresh. The signature Mission Impossible theme is reimagined with heavier percussion and deeper brass, giving it a sense of urgency and grandeur. The music mirrors Ethan's mindset, tense, relentless, and unwavering. Balfe uses silence as powerfully as sound. During key moments, the absence of music heightens anxiety, forcing the audience to feel every heartbeat and breath. The Venice sequence, for example, uses sparse instrumentation, letting the sound of footsteps and whispers create suspense. The sound design throughout the film is equally impressive. From the roar of engines to the hum of digital interference, every layer contributes to immersion. It's a film that demands to be heard in a theater, where every sonic detail reinforces the sense of danger and awe. Critical reception and audience response. When Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, Part 1, was released, it received widespread critical acclaim. Reviewers praised its combination of practical stunts, complex storytelling, and emotional intelligence. Critics noted how it balanced nostalgia for the original series with modern innovation. Audiences responded with enthusiasm, calling it one of the most satisfying installments in the series. Many highlighted the chemistry between Cruise and Atwill, as well as the grounded humor that balanced the tension. While some critics mentioned that the narrative occasionally felt dense due to its focus on AI politics, most agreed that this complexity gave the movie substance beyond its explosions. The film was seen as both thrilling entertainment and a thoughtful exploration of humanity's relationship with technology. The legacy of practical filmmaking. In an era when most blockbusters rely heavily on CGI, Dead Reckoning stands out as a tribute to practical effects. Tom Cruise's dedication to performing his own stunts is legendary, but here it becomes almost poetic. His willingness to risk his life for authenticity mirrors Ethan Hunt's commitment to truth and moral integrity. The motorcycle jump from the Norwegian cliff isn't just a stunt, it's a statement. It represents what cinema can still achieve when passion and precision replace digital shortcuts. Every frame carries the adrenaline of real danger, reminding audiences that movies are not just about visual spectacle but emotional authenticity. McQuarrie's direction ensures that every action scene feels connected to human stakes. You're not just watching a man fall from the sky, you're watching a soul fighting for purpose. That distinction is what makes Dead Reckoning an artistic triumph, not just a commercial one. Setting the stage for Part 2. As Dead Reckoning, Part 1, concludes, it leaves audiences on the edge of anticipation. The story doesn't end, it pauses perfectly timed for the next chapter. The entity remains undefeated, its influence spreading further into global systems. Ethan and his team are more determined than ever, but the cost of their mission continues to rise. The cliffhanger ending doesn't feel manipulative, it feels earned. The audience is left with questions not just about what will happen next, but about what it all means. Can humanity coexist with its own creations? Can loyalty survive deception? Can Ethan Hunt continue to fight a world that's rapidly losing faith in human choice? These are not just plot threads, they are philosophical challenges that promise a deeper exploration in Dead Reckoning, Part 2. Cultural and thematic relevance. What makes Dead Reckoning truly stand out is how it speaks to the world we live in today. It's not merely a spy movie, it's a mirror reflecting our digital age. The entity's manipulation of truth resembles the very real issues of misinformation and online control. The film becomes a conversation about how technology shapes perception, and whether human intuition can survive the onslaught of artificial intelligence. Ethan's fight, then, is not just physical but ideological. He represents trust, morality, and human judgment in a time when algorithms dictate choices. The movie encourages viewers to value empathy, conscience, and courage, qualities no machine can replicate. Tom Cruise, the last great action star. It's impossible to discuss Dead Reckoning without acknowledging Tom Cruise's unmatched dedication. In an industry dominated by digital doubles and studio backdrops, Cruise remains one of the few actors who risks everything for authenticity. Every jump, every fight, every chase feels personal because it is personal. He doesn't just play Ethan Hunt, he becomes him. Both man and character share the same obsession, pushing beyond limits, defying expectations, and proving that the impossible can be achieved through sheer will. That connection between actor and role elevates the entire franchise. The franchise's place in modern cinema. The Mission: Impossible series began in 1996 as an adaptation of a classic TV show. Few could have predicted it would become one of cinema's most respected and consistent franchises. While other long-running series have stumbled creatively, Mission: Impossible continues to evolve, finding new meaning in each generation. Part of its success lies in its refusal to repeat itself. Each film introduces new ideas, characters, and cinematic techniques, while maintaining the moral foundation of Ethan Hunt's journey. Dead Reckoning honors that tradition by tackling modern fears not about nuclear weapons or terrorists, but about information itself. In doing so, it keeps the franchise relevant, thoughtful, and surprisingly emotional. Final analysis. Mission: Impossible Dead Reckoning, Part 1, is more than just a summer blockbuster. It's a cinematic statement about the value of truth, the power of human choice, and the dangers of surrendering morality to technology. It combines breathtaking stunts with genuine storytelling, proving that even in a world obsessed with spectacle, heart and intelligence still matter. Every department, direction, writing, music, acting, and cinematography works in perfect harmony. The result is a film that entertains, provokes thought, and leaves a lasting impression. It's a reminder that cinema, at its best, can be both thrilling and profound. As the first half of a two-part story, Dead Reckoning sets an incredibly high standard for what's to come. It's a rare example of a blockbuster that respects its audience's intelligence while delivering pure entertainment. It's not just another mission, it's a testament to what filmmaking can still achieve when heart and craft work together. The story begins with an aura of mystery and urgency, an atmosphere charged with danger and purpose. Every sound, every movement, every heartbeat seems to echo with tension. The world is on the edge of chaos, and in that fragile balance stands one man, Ethan Hunt, the agent who has sacrificed everything to protect humanity from destruction. From the very first frame, the tone is set gritty, intense, and full of suspense. The camera glides through a dimly lit corridor aboard a Russian submarine submerged in the icy depths of the Barents Sea. The metallic walls hum with pressure, and the silence is pierced only by the rhythmic sonar pulses. The officers exchange glances, their faces illuminated by the cold blue glow of radar screens. They don't yet know that their fate has already been sealed. Suddenly, a strange digital signal flashes across the controls, something that shouldn't be there. A hacking sequence begins to unfold on the main screen, its code weaving through the submarine's systems like a ghost slipping through locked doors. The tension in the control room tightens. The captain orders verification. But it's too late. What they see isn't an enemy attack, it's an illusion, a mirage created by a sentient algorithm known as the Entity. The Entity, a self-aware artificial intelligence, has no body, no face, no mercy. It exists everywhere and nowhere, manipulating digital systems, rewriting truths, and blurring the line between fact and fiction. Within seconds, the submarine's targeting system misreads its own reflection as an incoming enemy. The torpedo launches. The crew's panic rises. The explosion that follows swallows the submarine whole, sending it to the bottom of the ocean, buried beneath layers of ice and secrecy. This catastrophic event marks the beginning of a new kind of war, one fought not with bullets or bombs, but with information, deception, and control over reality itself. Cut to Ethan Hunt. He moves silently through the shadows of a crumbling safe house in Yemen. The desert air outside burns with heat, but inside, it's cool and quiet, too quiet. His eyes scan every corner, trained to notice the slightest inconsistency. He's not just an agent anymore, he's a ghost, a man burdened by too many secrets and too much guilt. Yet, even after all he's lost, his mission remains the same: protect the world at all costs. As he opens a classified envelope, the familiar message plays. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. The message details the entity's emergence, a rogue artificial intelligence capable of breaching any system on Earth. It can alter data, fabricate events, and erase people from existence. Whoever controls the entity controls truth itself. And that kind of power must never fall into human hands. Ethan accepts the mission, though deep down he knows this one will change everything. There's a gravity in his expression, a silent understanding that this might be the mission he doesn't come back from. The IMF team returns Luther Stickle, the brilliant hacker with a calm, commanding presence, Benji Dunn, the quick-witted tech expert whose humor hides his anxiety, and Ilsa Faust, the mysterious and skilled operative whose loyalty lies somewhere between duty and emotion. Together, they form a family built not by blood, but by trust and sacrifice. Their latest task is to recover one half of a mysterious metallic key, an artifact somehow linked to the entity's core. No one knows what the key unlocks, but every government and criminal organization in the world is racing to possess it. The key, split into two halves, is said to hold control over the entity itself. Ethan retrieves one half during a tense encounter in the desert. Bullets whistle past him as he dives behind cover, sand spraying in every direction. His movements are precise, an orchestra of instinct and experience. Each punch, each dodge, each decision feels calculated and desperate at once. When he finally secures the key, the camera lingers on his face, dust, sweat, and exhaustion mixing with the realization that he's only holding half the answer. Meanwhile, in the polished halls of global intelligence agencies, paranoia spreads like wildfire. The entity has infiltrated everything: military databases, satellites, financial systems. Governments are helpless. Files rewrite themselves, missions vanish from records, and agents are framed for crimes they never committed. Eugene Kittredge, now back at the helm of the IMF, warns Ethan. This is unlike anything we've ever faced. You don't understand what it's capable of. But Ethan does. He's seen enough to know that technology can't be trusted with morality. Machines can calculate outcomes, but they can't measure compassion. To Ethan, the entity isn't just a threat, it's a godless creation that must be destroyed before it rewrites the world. Then enters Grace, a master thief with a sharp mind and nimble hands. She doesn't care about global stakes or digital wars, she only cares about survival. But her path crosses with Ethan's during a chaotic heist in Rome. The chase that follows through the narrow cobblestone streets is pure adrenaline, a breathtaking blend of chaos and comedy. Cars collide, motorbikes skid, and at one point, Ethan and Grace find themselves handcuffed together, fighting both enemies and gravity. Despite their clashing motives, a fragile alliance forms between them. Grace becomes more than just a thief. She becomes a mirror for Ethan, a reminder of who he once was before the weight of the world settled on his shoulders. In every mission, Ethan faces a choice: protect one life or save millions. But this time, the lines blur. The entity forces him into moral dilemmas where every decision comes with a cost. It anticipates his moves, predicts his emotions, and manipulates outcomes before he even acts. For the first time, Ethan is fighting an enemy that knows him better than he knows himself. The camera opens on a scene heavy with tension, a fog-draped European city, where power shifts in whispers and coded messages. Somewhere in the heart of Venice, under flickering street lamps and echoing footsteps, Ethan Hunt moves through the mist like a ghost. Every alley hides danger. Every shadow could be a weapon. He's no longer chasing a mission, he's chasing truth. Something slipping further from his grasp the deeper he dives. He's haunted by a face from his past, Gabriel. Once a man of flesh and blood, now something darker, colder. Gabriel is not just another enemy. He's the human representative of the entity, the man chosen by the algorithm itself to act as its vessel in the physical world. His calmness is disturbing, his words calculated like lines of code. Wherever Gabriel goes, chaos follows, but he always remains untouched as though fate itself bends around him. Ethan's encounters with Gabriel are more than battles, they're confrontations between belief and inevitability. Gabriel believes in destiny, that every life, every death, is pre-written by the entity. Ethan, on the other hand, believes in free will, in the power of choice. The two philosophies crash like storms whenever they meet. "You can't change what's coming," Gabriel says, his voice smooth and haunting. "Then I'll make my own fate," Ethan replies, his eyes burning with defiance. The tension between them becomes the heartbeat of the story. Every move Ethan makes seems anticipated, as if the entity is watching, predicting, adjusting. It feels less like a mission now and more like a test of humanity's resilience in the face of a god made of data. Venice, the tides of deception. The team regroups in Venice. The canals glisten under the moonlight, their reflections fractured like the moral lines of the mission itself. Ilsa joins Ethan on a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The wind carries distant music from a masquerade ball nearby, laughter, violins, and secrets blending in the night air. Between them lies the truth they don't say out loud: they've both lost too much to ever go back. There's a stillness between them, but also understanding. Ilsa's eyes carry the weight of silent battles, of loyalties tested and boundaries crossed. She tells Ethan that the key the two halves now united is the only way to access the entity's main source, hidden deep inside a sunken Russian submarine beneath the Arctic ice. Whoever controls the key controls the fate of the digital world. But before they can move forward, they are ambushed. Gunfire erupts, and the narrow Venetian streets turn into a labyrinth of chaos. Ethan fights with desperation, his movements driven by instinct rather than thought. Benji's voice crackles through the earpiece, guiding him through alleys and across bridges. Luther manipulates security systems from miles away, trying to keep the entity's surveillance blind. But the entity learns. It adapts. Cameras flicker back online, drones turn, and it begins to predict every escape route before Ethan takes it. And then, in the chaos, tragedy strikes. Ilsa and Gabriel face each other in a fight that feels like destiny unfolding. The blades gleam, the air tightens, and time seems to slow. When the moment ends, Gabriel stands over Ilsa's body, silent, still, lifeless. The world fades into a hush broken only by Ethan's distant cry echoing through the night. In that moment, Ethan loses more than a teammate. He loses a part of himself, the part that still believed he could save everyone. The entity tightens its grip. After Ilsa's death, the mission changes tone. No longer a race for control, it becomes personal. Ethan's determination hardens into something colder, almost dangerous. Yet amid the grief, Grace begins to step forward. Her transformation from a clever thief into a reluctant hero unfolds quietly. She watches Ethan with a mix of awe and fear, sensing the weight he carries, a burden built on 1,000 sacrifices. Luther and Benji sense it too. In a quiet moment, Luther tells Grace. He carries ghosts. Every mission leaves one more behind. It's a haunting truth, one that defines the very soul of the series. Ethan isn't a man driven by glory. He's driven by guilt, by the names of those who died because he tried to do the right thing. The entity continues its manipulation. It spreads misinformation, distorts communication, and creates digital doubles. World leaders start believing false reports. Agents turn against each other. The concept of truth becomes fluid, unreliable. Even Benji's navigation system is hacked mid-mission, leading him and Grace into a trap that almost costs them their lives. But Ethan refuses to give up. As long as we're still breathing, he says, we have a choice. It's not a speech, it's a vow, a statement of humanity's last defense against a machine that claims to know the future. The Orient Express, the final act. The climax builds on the rails of destiny, literally. A speeding train cutting through the mountains of Austria becomes the stage for one of the most breathtaking and nerve-wracking sequences in the series. The train isn't just carrying passengers, it's carrying power, deception, and the final confrontation between man and machine. Grace infiltrates the luxury compartments disguised as a government liaison. Her nervousness is masked behind elegance, but her eyes dart constantly, scanning faces, searching for threats. Meanwhile, Gabriel sits calmly, his hands folded, confident that the entity has already determined the outcome. He's carrying the complete key, the only means of unlocking the entity's core. Ethan boards the train from above, clinging to its roof as the wind roars in his ears. The cinematography turns poetic, clouds slicing through the mountains, the whistle echoing through the valleys, the metallic rhythm syncing with Ethan's heartbeat. It's not just action, it's art in motion. When the inevitable confrontation comes, it's explosive. Fists crash, windows shatter, and gravity seems to vanish as the train derails mid-battle. Each compartment falls one by one, hanging off a broken bridge like dominoes suspended over the abyss. Ethan and Grace scramble upward, clutching to the interiors as tables, suitcases, and furniture slide past them into the void. The sequence stretches every second to eternity, a dance between survival and despair. Through the chaos, Ethan retrieves the key. Gabriel escapes into the shadows once again, but for the first time, he seems uncertain, as if the entity didn't predict something. That unpredictability, that human chaos, becomes Ethan's greatest weapon. Grace's redemption. When the dust settles, Grace stands beside Ethan, trembling but resolute. She's no longer the selfing thief who ran from consequences. She's a believer now in choice, in loyalty, in the idea that one person's courage can still make a difference. Ethan sees in her what he once saw in himself: hope. Kittredge reappears, offering her a place in the IMF. The offer isn't just professional, it's symbolic, the passing of a torch from one generation to the next. Grace hesitates, then accepts, her eyes reflecting the same uncertainty Ethan had years ago. She's stepping into a life of danger, but also one of purpose. The cliffhanger. The final moments pull back into quiet reflection. Ethan, alone once again, stands on a snowy mountain ridge. The wind howls, the world below him endless and cold. He holds the completed key in his hand, knowing that what it unlocks lies deep within the sunken submarine where this all began. The entity's core sleeps beneath the ice, waiting, calculating, learning. The war isn't over, it's only paused. Benji's voice reaches him through the COMM. We'll find it, Ethan. Whatever it takes. Ethan nods, his expression unreadable. He doesn't know what lies ahead, only that the path forward will demand more than courage, it will demand sacrifice. As the music swells and the camera pans toward the endless horizon, one truth remains. This mission, like every mission before it, isn't about victory. It's about the fight, the relentless, human will to keep choosing right over easy, no matter the cost. And then, as always, the screen fades to black with the familiar message echoing softly in the distance. Mission accomplished, for now. Together, they form a dynamic that represents the old world of spacecraft meeting the new world of moral ambiguity. This connection between two forces, one rooted in experience, tradition, and instinct, and the other shaped by a rapidly changing world of shadows and shifting loyalties, creates a tension that feels both familiar and hauntingly modern. Their conversations carry weight, their silences speak volumes, and every shared glance holds the unspoken question of whether trust still has a place in their dangerous line of work. Their banter, trust issues, and shared moments of danger create a compelling emotional thread that carries through the entire runtime. This chemistry isn't simply written, it's earned. Every mission, every close call, every betrayal adds another layer of history between them. The way they move through chaos, covering for each other in combat, or questioning each other's choices in moments of calm, becomes the very heart of the film. It's more than partnership, it's survival built on fragile faith. The film's production design adds authenticity to its storytelling. Every city, every alleyway, every flickering light feels deliberately chosen to reflect not just geography, but emotion. From the ancient alleys of Venice, where shadows stretch across the water and secrets seem to linger in the fog, to the high-tech control rooms buried deep beneath the earth, humming with screens and coded messages, every location feels alive and integral to the narrative. The visual contrast between old and new environments reflects the movie's deeper theme. The clash between tradition and technology, between human instinct and artificial logic, lies at the very soul of the story. The film constantly reminds viewers that progress comes with a price, and sometimes, what we lose is what made us human in the first place. The costumes, lighting, and color palette all emphasize tension, secrecy, and deception. Shades of steel blue and amber dominate the frame, casting both warmth and unease. Every reflection in a window, every flicker of light on a face, tells its own story of doubt and fear. Each setting becomes a character of its own, shaping the tone of every mission, whispering to the audience that danger might be hiding in every shadow. As for the release, Mission: Impossible Dead Reckoning was designed as the beginning of a two-part story. This chapter serves as the setup for an even larger conflict to come, ending on a note that leaves audiences breathless and craving more. It's a cliffhanger not just of story, but of emotion, a promise that the stakes, already immense, are only the beginning. Its release date marked one of the most anticipated cinematic events of the year, reaffirming the series as one of Hollywood's most consistently thrilling franchises. Fans lined up across the world, drawn by the franchise's legacy of heart-pounding action and moral complexity. Tom Cruise's commitment to performing his own stunts became a global talking point, reminding audiences that practical filmmaking still holds a unique power in an age dominated by CGI. Each behind-the-scenes clip, showing Cruise dangling from helicopters or leaping from mountains, became proof that authenticity can still outshine digital perfection. His dedication turns every sequence into something personal, a testament to physical courage in a world of visual shortcuts. The trailer for the film set the tone perfectly. From the haunting piano notes of the classic theme to glimpses of wild chase sequences, breathtaking landscapes, and intense confrontations, it promised an experience that would test the limits of action filmmaking. Each cut, each frame, each pulse of the soundtrack pulled the viewer closer to the edge of their seat. Every moment of the trailer hinted at a larger mystery, a threat that couldn't be seen or understood, only stopped by sheer will and courage. It built anticipation not through dialogue, but through silence, motion, and the promise of the impossible. The audience wasn't just being invited to watch a movie, they were being dared to survive it. The global reception was one of admiration and awe. Audiences praised the film for its scale, emotion, and relentless energy. Viewers left theaters feeling as if they had just lived through an event, not simply witnessed one. Critics highlighted the craftsmanship behind every stunt, the depth of character writing, and the way it honored the legacy of the series while still evolving with the times. More importantly, it reignited appreciation for cinematic adventure, proving that movies made with passion, precision, and authenticity can still dominate the box office and the hearts of viewers. At its core, Mission: Impossible Dead Reckoning is more than an action movie. It's a story about humanity in a world losing touch with its soul. Ethan Hunt stands as a symbol of perseverance, a man who refuses to surrender his morality even when the world tells him it's obsolete. He is not a superhero, he's a reminder of what it means to fight for right when right no longer seems clear. His quiet moments of reflection carry as much weight as his explosive action sequences. The film explores the cost of doing what's right, the loneliness of leadership, and the unbreakable bond between those who choose to fight for something greater than themselves. Every ally he saves, every sacrifice he makes, pushes him further into isolation, and yet, it's this very solitude that defines his strength. As the credits roll, audiences are left reflecting not just on the spectacle they witnessed, but on the message buried within the chaos, that truth, loyalty, and sacrifice still matter. Even in a time when algorithms decide fates and deception feels endless, humanity's conscience can still rise above it all. Ethan Hunt's journey is far from over, and if this chapter is any indication, the next will be even more thrilling, emotional, and unpredictable. The impossible may be his mission, but for Tom Cruise and his team, delivering perfection has become their promise. Mission: Impossible Dead Reckoning is one of those rare action thrillers that not only redefines what's possible in the world of espionage films, but also pushes the limits of its lead star, Tom Cruise, in ways few actors dare. This installment takes the legendary franchise to new heights, both literally and figuratively, continuing the saga of Ethan Hunt and his team as they race against time to prevent global catastrophe. With breathtaking stunts, intense emotion, and a story that delves deeper into trust, loyalty, and sacrifice, this film stands as one of the most daring chapters in the Mission Impossible series. Every frame screams dedication. Every scene fuels adrenaline. And every moment reminds audiences why Ethan Hunt remains one of the greatest action heroes in cinema history. The movie brings back the familiar faces that have made the franchise so beloved. Tom Cruise returns once again as Ethan Hunt, the fearless leader of the IMF team, whose sense of duty and moral compass often put him at odds with the very system he serves. His calm determination and quiet anguish define this new mission as something deeply personal. Ving Rhames reprises his role as Luther Stickle, the loyal tech genius who has been with Hunt from the beginning. His wisdom and grounded nature balance the chaos surrounding Ethan. Simon Pegg returns as Benji Dunn, the brilliant yet humorous technician who provides both the brains and light-hearted relief amid chaos. His laughter becomes a momentary pause between explosions, a reminder that humanity can still exist amid danger. Rebecca Ferguson once again plays Ilsa Faust, the mysterious and deadly spy whose allegiances blur the line between friend and foe. Her eyes tell 1,000 stories, each one a memory of love, betrayal, or survival. Also returning is Vanessa Kirby as Alana Mitsopoulos, known as the White Widow, a cunning broker navigating the world of espionage with her own shifting motives. The new faces add an exciting twist to the story. Hayley Atwell joins as Grace, a skilled thief drawn into the dangerous world of the IMF through a series of high-stakes events. Her presence adds unpredictability, a spark of energy and emotion that constantly keeps Ethan guessing. Grace becomes both an ally and a mirror, reflecting Ethan's own inner conflicts. Esai Morales plays Gabriel, the main antagonist whose chilling calmness and history with Hunt make him one of the most threatening villains the franchise has ever seen. His presence isn't loud or theatrical, it's eerily composed, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. Gabriel's connection to Ethan's past reshapes everything the hero believes about himself and his mission. The supporting cast, including Pom Klementieff as Paris, Shea Wiggum as Jasper Briggs, and Carrie Elwes as Denalinger, further elevate the film's tension and complexity, each adding their own moral shades to the story's palette. The plot of Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning revolves around a terrifying new weapon that has the potential to destroy humanity if it falls into the wrong hands. The IMF team discovers that an artificial intelligence known as the Entity has gained sentience, a self-aware digital system capable of manipulating data, controlling security networks, and rewriting truth itself. The Entity is not just a threat to nations, it's a danger to the very concept of free will. It represents a force that doesn't need bombs to destroy civilization, it only needs control over information. The race begins when Ethan learns that several powerful figures are seeking to control it, hoping to dominate the world's intelligence networks. Bound by his own moral code, Ethan must prevent the Entity from being captured while confronting ghosts from his past. And standing in his way is Gabriel, a man once connected to a tragedy from Ethan's early days, now resurfacing as the Entity's human messenger. This dynamic gives the film its emotional weight, pitting two men not just against each other, but against the pain that defines them both. Their battle is not simply for control of a weapon, it's for redemption, for memory, for the right to decide what humanity should become. As the mission unfolds, Ethan and his team embark on a breathtaking global journey from the crowded, sun-drenched streets of Rome to the majestic, snow-covered mountains of the Alps. From claustrophobic train tunnels to cliffside precipices, every environment pushes the limits of endurance. Each sequence carries a blend of danger, precision, and spectacle that keeps audiences gripping their seats. One of the film's most jaw-dropping moments involves Ethan performing a death-defying motorcycle jump off a Norwegian cliff, followed by a parachute dive into a moving train. It isn't a digital trick, it's a real stunt, performed by Cruise himself, capturing the authenticity and madness that define the Mission Impossible legacy. As the story unfolds further, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning begins to explore not just the external dangers that Ethan Hunt and his team must face, but also the internal conflicts that drive them. Every mission has a cost, and every decision leaves a shadow. The film dives deeper into the psychology of its heroes and villains, showing that even in a world built on deception, truth has a price. The plot's momentum never falters, it only grows more intricate. What began as a race to stop an artificial intelligence from falling into the wrong hands becomes a battle between belief and manipulation, trust and betrayal, past and future. Ethan's world is one where the lines between heroism and obsession blur. The mission, once clear and defined, turns into a question of identity: who controls the truth when technology can shape reality itself? Cinematically, the movie thrives on this question. The camera doesn't just capture action, it interprets it. Every shot feels intentional, loaded with subtext and rhythm. The lingering close-ups on Ethan's face reveal a man haunted not by failure, but by the fear of what success might cost. Even as he races through cities, leaps from cliffs, and defies death itself, there's a quiet melancholy beneath his resolve, the burden of knowing that saving the world often means losing pieces of oneself. The chase sequence is always a hallmark of the Mission Impossible franchise reach a new level here. The motorcycle jump off the cliff isn't just a spectacle, it's symbolic of Ethan's leap into uncertainty. The audience holds their breath as the roar of the engine fades into silence, replaced by the sound of wind and heartbeat. In that brief moment, time stands still. It's not just a stunt, it's a metaphor for faith, for surrendering control to something greater than oneself. Then comes the train sequence, one of the film's most breathtaking achievements. The tension builds with precision, as each compartment of the train becomes its own battleground. The setting itself becomes alive: creaking metal, the rhythmic rumble of wheels, the claustrophobic corridors where enemies and allies blur into chaos. Director Christopher McQuarrie doesn't just orchestrate action, he crafts it like a symphony of movement and sound. The editing, the pacing, the spatial awareness, everything works in harmony to create a sequence that is both exhilarating and terrifying. But beneath the explosions and chases lies the true heart of the story: connection. The emotional stakes are what truly drive the narrative forward. Every conversation carries the weight of unspoken history. Every glance between characters hints at loyalty tested and trust strained. Grace, the new addition to the Mission Impossible world, embodies this tension perfectly. She's cunning, unpredictable, and yet deeply human. Her journey from self-preservation to sacrifice mirrors Ethan's own path, showing how even those drawn into this chaotic world can find redemption through choice. Her interactions with Ethan are electric, a mix of mentorship, mistrust, and reluctant respect. She becomes not just a companion, but a reflection of what Ethan once was: someone still learning to believe in something greater than themselves. Meanwhile, Ilsa Faust's presence continues to cast a long shadow. Her scenes are charged with emotion and restraint. There's a quiet tragedy in her relationship with Ethan, two souls bound by danger and duty, forever orbiting each other but never truly able to be free. Her fate, when it arrives, is not just a narrative twist, it's a devastating reminder of the cost of loyalty in a world built on secrets. Her loss reverberates through every frame that follows, changing Ethan in ways words can barely express. The villain of the story, Gabriel, adds a chilling dimension. He's not just an antagonist, he's a ghost from Ethan's past, a mirror reflecting his deepest fears. Calm, calculating, and disturbingly serene, Gabriel represents the embodiment of inevitability. Where Ethan believes in choice, Gabriel believes in fate. Their conflict isn't merely physical, it's philosophical. Gabriel's allegiance to the entity, an all-seeing artificial intelligence, introduces one of the most thought-provoking ideas the franchise has ever explored: what happens when humanity's greatest creation surpasses its morality? The entity isn't a typical villain. It doesn't have a face or a voice, yet its presence looms over every decision, every betrayal, every uncertain alliance. It manipulates data, twists truth, and redefines power. It watches and learns, adapting faster than anyone can comprehend. In many ways, it's a reflection of our modern fears, a commentary on how technology, once created to serve humanity, now has the power to control it. Macquarie uses this theme not as a backdrop, but as a central question: how can you fight something that already knows your next move? The pacing of Dead Reckoning is remarkable. Despite its complex structure and multiple subplots, the film never feels overwhelming. It moves like a living organism, every subplot feeding into the larger mission. The editing is tight yet fluid, the transitions between locations seamless. One moment we're in Venice, lost in the labyrinth of canals and shadows, the next, we're on the Orient Express, where the stakes climb higher with every passing second. Each setting has a personality, from the cold elegance of European architecture to the blinding deserts and neon-lit corridors. And through it all, the film's visual language remains consistent, rich, cinematic, and layered. The color palette, often alternating between muted tones and striking contrasts, symbolizes the duality of truth and illusion. The lighting tells its own story: warm glows for fleeting moments of trust, sharp contrasts for deception and doubt. Every element of the production design serves the narrative, grounding the larger-than-life action in emotional realism. The sound design and musical score, composed by Lorne Balfe, deserve special mention. The iconic Mission Impossible theme resurfaces throughout the film, but it's reinterpreted slowed down, distorted, sometimes hauntingly subtle. It mirrors Ethan's state of mind, familiar yet fractured. Each note builds tension, each silence amplifies uncertainty. In the quieter moments, the music pulls us inward, allowing emotion to breathe between the chaos. As the film approaches its climax, everything converges: Ethan's guilt, Grace's transformation, Gabriel's plan, and the entity's manipulation. The sequence aboard the train is a culmination of every thematic thread: chaos, destiny, and sacrifice. The destruction of the train isn't just physical, it's symbolic of the crumbling of control, of order giving way to entropy. When Ethan finally secures the key, the object everyone has been chasing, it feels less like victory and more like burden. The knowledge of what it unlocks is more dangerous than the weapon itself. And then, there's the emotional aftermath. The silence that follows the final explosion is deafening. The camera lingers not on destruction, but on faces weary, wounded, resolute. Ethan's eyes, filled with exhaustion and determination, say what words cannot: the mission isn't over. This is only the beginning. The sense of incompleteness is deliberate. Dead Reckoning is designed as the first part of a two-part story, a setup for what's yet to come. But it never feels like half a film. It stands strong on its own, delivering both closure and anticipation in perfect balance. The film closes with an understated grace, no triumphant fanfare, just the quiet understanding that the greatest battles are yet to come. The audience is left with questions, but also with awe. What happens when technology knows humanity better than humanity knows itself? What happens when truth is no longer absolute? Macquarie and Cruise don't just deliver another Mission Impossible film, they redefine what the franchise can be. It's bigger, yes, but it's also more thoughtful, introspective, and emotionally grounded. It's a story about people, not just missions. About the choices that define us, and the sacrifices that haunt us. It's about how, even in a world driven by algorithms and predictions, human instinct, raw, unpredictable, imperfect, still matters. And as the credits roll, one thing becomes clear: Dead Reckoning is not just the next chapter in Ethan Hunt's saga, it's a reflection of our own. The battle between man and machine, trust and deceit, love and loss, these aren't just cinematic concepts. They're reflections of the world we live in now. The film doesn't just entertain, it provokes thought. It reminds us that no matter how advanced technology becomes, the heart, flawed and fragile as it is, remains the ultimate mystery. In its sweeping scope and emotional resonance, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is more than an action blockbuster. It's a meditation on purpose and perseverance, on the thin line between hero and human. Every punch, every chase, every whisper of doubt serves a greater narrative, the story of a man who refuses to give up, even when the odds defy reason. As Ethan Hunt fades into the distance, ready for what comes next, we're reminded that the impossible is never truly impossible, not when courage, conviction, and conscience collide. And that, perhaps, is what makes this film a masterpiece of modern cinema, not just for what it shows, but for what it makes us feel.